Welcome to The Drive with your automotive experts and hosts, Lauren Fix and Karl Brauer. Each week we deliver the latest breaking news, vehicle reviews, and inside look at what's happening in the automotive world. Buckle up, it's time to hit the road with The Drive.
Welcome to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. I'm Lauren Fix with my co-host, Karl Brauer.
Karl Brauer, thank you. Great to be on with you, Lauren.
Yes, another great show. We've had many weeks of bringing on some really great guests. Some have become regular contributors, and one of those is Brian Moody. He's an automotive expert and analyst. We've known him a long time. We've worked together over the years, all of us. And Brian,
Yes.
did the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I know what it seems like. There's a sound that you're hearing. It sounds like booing. It's not booing. It's they're chanting Moody, Moody. So, just so you know, they're not booing.
I love it.
So,
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of
Yeah.
changes in the industry, and we've all lived the original changes of gasoline-powered cars to hybrids and then electrics, and now it looks like EVs have a big change, and car manufacturers are making a shift. No $7,500 tax credit. Some are still producing EVs, thinking there's going to be sales, but Karl has proven through IC cars that the numbers are much what he predicted. And then on top of that, we were watching car manufacturers still not officially making the shift. And we saw that with the 2027 Toyota Highlander, and Karl and I were at the launch for that. And I asked, just like Karl did, are you going to offer it in hybrid or gas? And they said, no, the Grand Highlander. But my guess and my gut tell me that dealers are going to push back, and they're going to eventually offer a hybrid version, because if you pop the hood, there's a heck of a lot of space. What do you think, Karl?
Yeah, it was fascinating to watch a brand name as powerful and as well sold and as popular as the Toyota Highlander turn electric. And I think everyone agrees, everyone who knows what's going on in the industry and what's gone on in the industry over the past 5 years agrees that if Toyota could, use the DeLorean and go back a couple of years in time, they probably wouldn't have done this. But this train had left the station and was moving at too fast of a rate to change directions. And so they had committed to making the Highlander EV, making it go electric a couple of years ago. If the car was developed, it was ready to launch, and then all of a sudden the EV credit went away. We had a different mindset from Washington, and like Lauren said, I also watched the market share for electric vehicles plateau months before there was an election and a change in administration. And I had seen it coming years earlier, because every individual market that had more than 8% share of EVs was hardly growing. And I knew when we hit 8% nationally versus just cities like Los Angeles or states like California, that the same thing would happen. And it did happen. And so it was a 1-2 punch. The market started to rapidly push back after about 8% plateauing at that share for EVs. And then we had a change in administration that said, yeah, we're not going to have these regulations in place. So yeah, one of the themes of this show that we're going to talk about is why I'm so excited. Not only do we have Brian on as a great commentator, but we have a really cool theme where we're going to just discuss the post EV credit, post EV push world in the in automotive.
So regarding the Toyota, let me just ask you guys this, just to play devil's advocate. I'm not necessarily an electric car proponent, and I'm not an opponent. I'm just, the market should decide these things. People buy Coke because they think it's the best. They buy Nike sneakers because it's the best thing for the money. Could it be with the Toyota Highlander that the distance people drive bulk of the time, plus the fact that it has that Toyota name on it, could be enough to make that electric SUV successful?
They can only hope. How about that?
I'm not saying I know, I'm just asking.
Please. But remember,
Yeah.
they build a lot of cars, and they're wholesalers.
Yes.
They sell it to a lot of dealers across the country,
Yeah.
not just California and New York, but all across the middle of the country. And those
Yeah.
dealers have to get that vehicle and say, great, we got customers. Customers are coming in and they're asking for the higher,
Asking for that.
this
Yeah.
popular 3-row SUV. Great value, excellent resale, warranty,
Yeah.
scheduled maintenance, the whole 9 yards. But EV only? That doesn't work when there's no infrastructure across the middle of the country, the flyover states, as they say. And I think the dealers are going to be making the call, because they're going to push back on the manufacturers. Like, we can't sell these. We got a bunch of essentially BZs sitting here.
Yeah.
Sell them either.
Yeah.
No,
And that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
no, you're asking the right question, Brian. And I think like Lauren says, can you sell some electric Highlanders? You can absolutely sell some electric Highlanders.
Yep.
Are you going to sell electric Highlanders at the same rate in Kansas or in Indiana or in Montana that you were selling
Or
the gas
Buffalo.
ones? It gets
Buffalo.
cold in those states. There's long
Wow.
distances between each of the cities. You want to go visit your relatives the next town over. You're gonna and it's 30 degrees out. That electric version of a hybrid is not going to be as appealing as an internal combustion.
It's 0 degrees here today. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is the way. This is the challenge. We just had that deep freeze that went through the country recently, and so
Yeah.
people remember that. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and keep talking about this because that's kind of the theme. We have a lot of great information about what's going on in the industry post EV credit and what we're seeing in different models, different manufacturers, what they're doing, and how they're going to approach this new world, which is going to feel a lot like the old world. We'll be right back with more The Drive with Lauren and Karl and our guest, Brian Moody. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl and our guest today, Brian Moody. We are talking not necessarily just EVs, but more like the perspective of EVs in a new world that's not so EV focused or maybe EV forced, some would say. Now, we were just talking about the Toyota Highlander, which just switched from gasoline to electric, which seems kind of counter to where the world has gone in the last.
Can we say
12
post
months.
EV? Let's
Post-EV.
can we call it right here? This is a post EV world.
Post EV world. And yet we just saw a brand new EV introduced and an
You
EV
and I saw
version.
3.
Well, we saw multiple ones, and this is and this is a model, the Highlander, that sells really well as a non EV. And I think one of the things that's going to be key on that is going to be price, because they didn't give us the price, and we won't know till we get closer to the fall when it goes on sale. But the car is really well equipped. It looks great inside and out. I really liked the car, just like I like the Ioniq 9 and the EV9. But these cars are expensive, right? And so if you can come in with that Toyota, and remember, Toyota does things the Toyota way, which is code for they do it usually better than everyone else, and that includes cost effectiveness. Maybe they've got a deal with their suppliers and they're able to amortize costs. Maybe the limited 320-mile range version of this new Highlander electric vehicle starts at, and I sad to say, an amazing deal of like $65,000 for the top trim loaded one, and maybe the base
Yay.
XLE model starts in like the high 50s. That's probably overly aggressive. I doubt they can price it that low and still make money, but let's just say they could. That would be an amazingly good deal for an electric 3-row big SUV
Yeah.
versus the other ones on the market.
But
But
the
as I
insurance
just
costs
said,
are
we're
higher.
still talking $50,000 to $60,000 for
Yeah.
a 3-row SUV, and I think a lot of people are still going to be like, yeah, I have range anxiety and a much bigger upfront purchase price. I'm kind of out, right?
Well, look at the
So-
competition.
Yeah.
You've got the big one, the big elephant in the room is Hyundai and their hybrid Palisade. That's a direct competitor.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to beat because they're
And that's a nice SUV too. Like
It's a
that's
fabulous vehicle.
very
It's a
slick. Yeah.
fabulous vehicle. Yeah.
Very slick.
Telluride, same thing,
Yep.
gas and hybrid. So
Well,
Hyundai seems to be paying attention. They're still
yeah.
but
Well, and speaking of 3-row big electric SUVs, there's one called the Model X. So just as Toyota's bringing in an all-electric vehicle, Tesla's killing an electric vehicle, right? They just killed the Model X and the Model S. These are their two first and original cars. The S, you could argue, is like kind of their halo vehicle.
Oh, I
And-
didn't think of that. What if they're gonna what if Palo Alto is gonna sell a bunch of Toyota Highlander 3-row SUVs because now there's no more Model X? Wow. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe they can fill in where those guys are when those guys are bailing out. But again, you could if you were the person who says that Elon's ahead of the game, he was first in EVs and made a lot of money. What's his attitude right now? It's pretty clear with the Model S and Model X being canceled and his new focus on AI and robotaxis and robots. He thinks there's not a future in electric vehicle production, right?
Well,
He
also, I
thinks-
feel like he looks at it and says the car business is hard. What it's time for is a redesign. We can't do that. Let's just kill them. Whereas if it was Honda or Toyota or Ford, they're not going to say, "Oh, it's time for a redesign." Nah, let's just kill the Expedition. No, they're going to redesign it and make it better.
that's true. Although they are killing the Edge. The Ford Edge is gone. They're replacing it with a Bronco Sport. I don't I don't
Well, they
know.
also,
Maybe
you mean the edge or the
Taurus.
escape too, right? The escape's gone too. So they're streamlining their product line.
Well, the
But yeah,
product is selling well, but I mean, but then
right.
you're here's an interesting tossing in all these brands. Stellantis
Mhm.
dropped their whole 4xe lineup, the whole plug-in hybrid, and they
Mm.
literally had the whole market cornered on plug-in hybrids. They were the one with the
Yep.
full Jeep line. Now it's a stop sale, and it's completely off their website. It's not, and they're not. They already said we're not making them anymore.
So, Carl, does that make it collectible? I
No,
mean,
they're buying them back because people are having battery issues.
I was just going to say the collectible, if you want to dump a fair amount of money into it every probably somewhere between 5 to 10 years for a new battery, but yeah, sure.
I would
But
say,
yeah, it's a different world, right? And of course, we've seen the ID Buzz, which everyone was buzzing about a year ago.
it was it's
Gone.
cool. What a
Wow.
great little vehicle. If that had a range extender, I'd buy one.
I know the car was
walk into
fabulous.
That thing, I'm not gonna like it. But I got in it and I said, the design was fabulous. And driving it was
It drove great. It drove
interior features, thoughtfulness, the way it folded flat. Yeah, tons. I would love to just see. I mean, just I don't know if this is crazy or not. What if you could put like a flat 4 turbocharged engine in the ID Buzz, and it would look and it would sound and feel a little bit like the old one?
I would
They'd,
think
they'd
they're
sell it
bought
like
for sale.
they'd sell it like crazy if they did that. All right. Speaking of selling, we gotta sell some things for paying bills. So we're gonna take another break here, but we will be right back with more on the drive with Lauren and Carl and our, well, not special guest. He's on all the time now, thankfully. Brian Moody. We will be right back.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Carl. This segment brought to you by Car Coach Reports, where we cut through the news. Real car news, real reviews, no spin. Watch Car Coach Reports on YouTube. And for full vehicle reviews, check out Car Smarts on YouTube. Get the facts before you buy. Okay, now something's happening that I've kind of been waiting for. Lots of customers have been emailing and calling and communicating with Carl and Brian and myself about how much they hate start-stop technology. You stop at a traffic light, the car dies. You're like, oh, did I shut it off? And then the car starts up again. When it first came out, it was quite abrupt, and we all complained as media. The media just hated it. But now,
Terrible.
much smoother, but still, most cars allow you to shut it off. Some don't. But now, under Lee Zeldin, who's in charge of the EPA, it's part of the deregulations of the greenhouse gas, it's going away. And just for reference, I did contact every single car company in the past when it was first announced they were dropping start-stop technology under the CAFE standards, and every brand said, until it's signed to go away, we're leaving it in. Sounds like they're a little afraid. What do you think?
Mhm. I didn't
Yeah,
like
well-
the technology, obviously, but some cars do it so well that you can't tell. However, this is the part that I feel like people don't understand. Those few seconds in traffic when you're braking and you can't tell whether you're going to come to a full stop or accelerate, and that happens all the time. It turns out traffic is analog. Traffic doesn't work the way a computer works. And in those stop start back and forth, is he going to go, am I going to go, letting it like that, all that messes with the stop start so bad. It delivers such a poor driving experience. It's surprising that the manufacturers even put it in the first place.
They had to, is
Uh-huh.
under CAFE standards.
There's no other way to meet. I
They
know.
were able to reduce their average fuel economy by 1 mile to the gallon for installing it. And that was under Obama that was put in.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they left it in so they can say, well, we have it. But CAFE standards are gone. So are
Yeah.
they going to remove it? Is there going to be a software download? Because the damage it does to the vehicles and the engines and the starter falls on you, the consumer.
It's a terrible,
Yeah.
it's a terrible technology. I couldn't believe it when I first heard about what it was going to do. If they talk about like a light bulb, really not true anymore with LEDs and all that. But in the traditional light bulb with a filament, what was the worst moment in a light bulb's life? When you first turned it on, and you went, when did all those light bulbs always burn out for us? You would turn them on.
When
and
it
they'd
first flick it on.
when you first flick it on, because that's the worst time. That's the same thing. All that energy, that thing's just sitting there all nice and comfortable, and then bam, all that energy runs. Same thing with a car engine. I use that because I feel like that's an easy one to picture, and people who aren't
Yeah.
engineers may not get it. But when you start an engine, all the oil's at the bottom in the oil pan. There's minimal residue, if any, left on the rings and the pistons, and then you start it, and you have to. And physics requires a few seconds for it to get pumped around and get into the pistons.
Yeah.
That's when the engines have their most wear. They just introduced technology to create the most wear. It's flicking a filament, incandescent light bulb on as many times as you can, off and on, to wear it out as quickly as possible. That's what engine start-stop technology does to an engine. You're wearing the engine out as quickly as you can because it's the worst time of the engine's life.
Could this be
no likey.
planned obsolescence? How do you get more people back to the dealer to spend money? We need
Maybe-
service money.
Maybe, but man, what a terrible experience.
Oh, I got a problem. The car's not starting the way it was. It's not running the way. Oh, we'll bring it in the shop. We take a look at it. Oh, yeah, you need a new starter. So we wouldn't sell starters till you get to 75, 100,000 miles. Now we're selling them at a much like 40,000 miles.
Yeah.
This car has been abused essentially. So a perfect example is my mother bought a dryer in 1964 and she kept it till the day she died, which was like 2010. So they don't make dryers like that anymore. My dryer lasts like 4 or 5 years. Why? Planned obsolescence. I can sell more dryers.
Yeah.
The parts to repair
Yeah.
are always expensive.
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
the
Now,
car
it's really bad.
manufacturers were in on this?
Well, and you guys talked about the driving experience too. I'll
Terrible.
never forget. It was 2014. I was on a press trip with Aston Martin in England, and they were driving us to the airport in London. So we're in London, stop and go traffic. And of course, this was in 14. So cars were still back then in Europe. What were a lot of the cars? Diesel. So we're in a diesel Mercedes sedan, S-Class. So it should be this great driving experience. But we're in Mercedes top luxury sedan in the back seat, and that engine is stopping and starting every time the car moves like 10 feet, and it's a diesel. And you guys know what diesels are like when they start and stop. And it's doing it every like 10 or 12 seconds in this thing and all. I'm sitting in the back going, this is literally one of the worst riding experiences I've ever had in a Mercedes S-Class because of all those combinations of the start.
And by the way, the reason those cars were diesel was because the government gave credits for it over in Europe. And maybe let's just go on record as saying maybe governments are not good car builders. Let's just say.
They did the English car industry. They destroyed it.
Say.
Just saying. I can't believe you'd suggest that the government doesn't know best, Brian, that they're experts in everything. And you can tell by just hearing, when you read the legislation, it's clear that they make their due diligence and become pure experts before they ever incorporate any laws.
I think the government hurt electric cars, and that if you made an amazing electric car and let the market decide, you would still be at about the same place as you are now.
Sure. And it wouldn't have cost taxpayers all this money.
Yep.
Because billions of dollars forcing it down our
There's a
No,
place where those cars settle. There's a place where they settle, right? It's a natural place.
Yep.
But that's not everything. And you can let people get there by making, this is surprise, surprise. The way that you make something turn out to be like widely adaptable and available, make it the best it can possibly be. Best value, best price, best longevity, best performance, all of that. Just do that. And there you go. Then you'll win.
It's true. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back after another break on The Drive with Lauren and Karl and Brian Moody. We're going to keep talking electric cars. There's a couple more very interesting topics coming. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl, where we are talking EVs. And this segment is brought to you by IC Cars, a great vehicle data center as well as shopping place for your next vehicle. They have both going. That's where I'm executive analyst, and where the data that they gave me helped me see years ago what was going to happen to the EV market once we hit about 8% national market share. There's a way to maybe sell more EVs, and certainly China's trying to do it by having these super low cost EVs. And recently, Jim Farley, Ford's CEO, was talking about how he was worried about EVs from China. He went over and experienced them and said, oh my gosh, I don't know how we compete with these guys. I remember thinking, and I think a lot of people thought, why would the head of Ford say, oh gosh, we're in trouble to compete with Chinese? I now realize what that was. That was, I want to say it was a bit of a setup. He did that because there was an ulterior motive. They have since discussed their new UEV, or Universal Electric Vehicle Platform, that they are hopefully not over-promising and going to under-deliver on, because what they're saying sounds incredible. They just had a big briefing on it, and they're claiming that this platform will redefine how Ford competes with the Chinese on the global electric market. They're utilizing massive optimization from lightweight chassis engineering. They're using what they're calling aluminum unit casting, which is supposed to make the vehicle as stronger than necessary, but also much lighter. Smaller and lighter battery technology, extremely advanced battery technology, super aerodynamic body structures and body shape, reduced parasitic loss in the drivetrain components, and they're going to a 48-volt system. And they're saying that this represents a massive cost savings and price reduction that they're going to be able to sell this vehicle at. And the first one's going to be a mid-sized truck. And they're again claiming that it's going to be super space efficient, have more interior space than a RAV4, even though it's a truck. And that the first model is going to arrive in 2027, this mid-sized truck. And they're also claiming that the Ford dealers who have seen it are only having one reaction. When can we have this? We want this now. That's what Ford dealers. You were talking
It
earlier.
always has to be price, though. It always has to be price.
That's the key. And that to me, it's like all these other things they're saying: super light, super long range, super small battery, but yet having the long range because it's so light and so aerodynamic, super efficient drivetrain, faster charging. All the things they're saying they're doing sound great. If they can't finally give us the sub $35,000 without any incentives and any credits, before any credits come in, a sub 35 and better, even a sub $30,000 electric vehicle. If they can't do that, we're right back to where Tesla's been struggling increasingly in the last few years and not growing. And, remember, they were supposed to have the low cost thing, the Bolt EV. None of these vehicles really cost less than $35,000 by the time you get out the door.
Do you think that they're doing this because they really truly believe that there is consumer demand for it? Or are we still is ideology still in the driver's seat and we're just trying to call it a different name? Because if consumers want something, they'll get it. They'll buy it.
Right. Well, I think it's like the Toyota Highlander going electric. I think this train started years ago, and now they have to keep driving it because they can't pivot at this point. So they have to sell this thing as an incredibly desirable, capable, competitive with Chinese, and points the way to the future of electric vehicles.
Right.
And I think if all that's true, if they really do, I mean, Lauren, you said during the break, all that's great, but you still need infrastructure. All the things about cold weather, drop in performance and range are still true, even if it's a $25,000 bigger than RAV4 interior, awesome performance truck, electric truck.
And good range.
Right, Lauren?
They have amazing range. But I know Ford has a battery plant, and actually so does Toyota. Actually, all the brands do, but they're using 48-volt architecture, and it's been around for a long time, and it's proven. And I think the problem for consumers is range. How long does it take to charge? Okay, we've solved that problem. You can use the North American charging system, which is the Tesla chargers, in some cases, not all. But still, for consumers, I think the big problem is they want to be able to charge quickly. We're used to going to a gas station, filling up, coming out with soda and about all the chips, and I'm on the road. You can't do that fast. And even if you could, the fact is there isn't enough charging stations. The more cars you put on the road, the less availability there will be when you go to get to a charger. And of course, I live in New York State, so I drive along the thruway. There are charging stations. There are 2 or 3, depending upon which rest area. But still, there's always a car there. So if I show up, I got to wait for you to finish, depending upon what you have, an older car, a newer car, for me to charge. And they're all only level 2s. So again, that makes it challenging. And
See, I think it's not range anxiety. I think it's time anxiety. I've said this for a long time that so range anxiety used to be, I don't know if you guys remember the very first Nissan Leaf. Remember when you would drive it, it would say it has a 120-mile range. Well, you would drive it like 100 yards and it would be down to 90. So that's range anxiety, right? Like that, I couldn't have gone 100 miles and back. Today, when you see the little range thing that says, I have a Kia EV6, it's good about this. If it says 275 miles on the range thing, I know I can go about that far. If it's cold, maybe a little bit less, but I know I can do that. What I don't know is once I let it get past below 50 or 40%, how much time am I on the hook for now? I don't want to do that. I don't want it to become my new hobby. And that has to do with time. It's my anxiety is more to do with I don't have time for this. It's not about the driving distance. I know it will go the driving distance. And to your point, Lauren, you know you're going to find a charging station somewhere if you're in a metropolitan area.
Yeah.
You're going to find one. But what you're hinting at is not that they don't have the charging stations, is that now I have to wait how long? It's
Yeah.
time. People,
It's the
in my
experience.
opinion, yes, they are looking to eliminate that complexity from their lives, not add to it. And by the way, having to do that on a road trip and only an extra
Yeah.
40 minutes, you ever heard this? That's like someone who doesn't have toddlers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Or grandchildren. So trust me.
Right.
Yeah, I knew.
Well, I always tell the story where I was in that Hyundai Ioniq 5N. And it was like, and this was when it just come out like a year and a half ago. And it was the cool new, it makes the sounds and it looks cool. And
It's a cool car.
and I had to go to LA and back twice in like
Mhm.
first like 72 hours. I had that for a week loan. And guess what? I'm coming back the second time from LA. It's 50 miles each direction. And it's 200 miles. I'm like, I'm in trouble. I go to the first charging station off the freeway on the exit for my main my exit for my house. Target loaded up, all these cars. I don't know how many
Yeah.
cars were there. I was like, I don't have time. I'll go to the one that's close to my house. It's going to be tight. I get to the one close to my house. I'm down to like 3 miles.
Oh,
None of them are working. None of them are working, guys.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't have the ability to go to another charging station now. There was one level 2 there that was working. I had to sign up for the app. I had to get everything going. It took me like 10 minutes, 20 minutes to get the thing working. Then I plugged it in, and there was another woman who happened to be there in the same boat as me, except she had like 30 miles, not me with 2. She went to the next one over at the Foothill Ranch location at the Walmart, which was like 4 miles away. And she said, I'll call you. Took my number and said, I'll call you and let you know what the situation is. Because I didn't want to even try to head there. If I go there and it's not, I'm totally. She calls me. She's like, I got a slot. I'm in. There's no one behind me. I'll hold this slot for you. And I said, all right, if it takes you about 45 minutes to charge, it'll probably take me about 45 minutes to get 2 more miles so I can assure that I get
Yeah.
you. Exactly what happened. I drove over. She was there just finishing. I pulled in her slot. I charged the thing up. The whole process started at 4 p.m. on a Friday night, ended at 8 p.m. by the time I got home. How I spent my Friday night with the cool, sexy
Right.
Ioniq 5N, stressed to hell, trying to get the thing charged
Yeah.
between all those stops and starts and trying those things. That's when I was like, yeah, we're not going to do any EVs anytime soon.
So
Not that I
does
was close any-
does NACS solve all that?
it
It
allows
solves
you to
some
rent.
of it.
Yeah.
It
it's
solves
rent.
some of it.
Okay.
But there has
All right,
to
we're
be
going to take a
basic chargers. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back, but you guys were saying before the last break, you got to make the best version, Brian. You were saying best performance.
Yeah.
It sounds like Ford is promising that with this new platform. We're gonna see if they can deliver, but if they can deliver all that at a great price, maybe it'll work. All right,
I
we'll
agree.
be right back on The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment brought to you by Issy Tire Socks. If you're slipping on ice in this very cold winter, put on a pair of Issy Tire Socks. Like a pair of socks, they're really easy to put on. They take about a minute each side. No stress, no fuss, just traction that works. It's now available at Amazon and also at Walmart. It's Issy Tire Socks. ISSE, really Issy. Okay, we've been talking about the post EV evolution, shall we say. And we're talking about a lot of cool hybrid cars, what Ford is doing, what Toyota's doing, a lot of different brands, because this is going to affect either what you're buying today or what you might be buying in a used car. And I know that Karl always discusses this through IC Cars, but this is something I think a lot of people are going to be concerned about and thinking about. And that's why we have Brian Moody with us. Brian, by the way, before we get rolling in this segment, tell us
Yeah.
where people can find you.
There's 2 ways you can read more of my stuff. There's moodybrian.blogspot. That's just for fun. And also capitalone.com/cars. There's lots of great car info on Capital One's Auto Navigator. And if you're doing research, looking to buy a car, there's lots of compelling reasons to use that kind of thing. I found this out myself. You guys ever tried to buy a used car? I didn't know that if you have a checking account someplace, you can't always borrow money from your bank if you're not going through a certain partnership dealership. I didn't know that. So anyway, but we bought my son a Toyota Corolla.
Nice.
Well, I couldn't go through my regular bank. I had to go get financing someplace else. So anyway, if you're shopping for a car, that's something to keep in mind. I have a theory about the hybrids. You want to hear my theory?
Yes, please.
2026 is going to be the year of the hybrid. And here's why I say that. Because of everything that Karl just said, which is that like people have shown that they, on the whole, they're not down with like electric cars, on the whole. Hybrids meet them where they are. Hybrids work with the existing infrastructure, but here's the key why 2026 is going to be the year of the hybrid. And I wrote a little bit about this on the blog. A lot of people are going to end up with a hybrid, even though that's not what they intended. So look at the Sienna and the Camry, for example. They only come as hybrid. When you go to look at one of those and test drive one of those, they're going to give you what they have, which is a hybrid. That's the only way a new Camry comes. The average person who's a previous Camry owner or maybe who's switching to a Camry is going to drive it and they're going to say, this is a great car.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't have any of the negatives. It's going to have the durability. By the way, did you guys know that Toyota hybrids have a 150,000 mile warranty?
Wow,
Depending
that's
on
even
which
longer.
one. Yeah, depending on which one. I think the Grand Highlander I'm testing right now is only to 100. But still, most
That's
people
still
keep their
quite
car, a brand
impressive.
new car for 150,000 miles. That is super.
Right. And so that's kind of like why I think they're going to end up in hybrids is because some people will seek it out because they want great fuel economy. Other people will seek it out because they want to, save the planet, that kind of thing. And others will get one by default because it's the only way that the car they really want comes. So I think that's what's going to put people in hybrids at a far higher rate than any electric car.
I think hybrids
I
are
agree with you.
drivable. I think they're more
Yeah.
Yes,
There's the driving experience is more normal, for lack of a better word. And then Carl, you and I could get into this one day, like way down the road, or if you're having a performance car or a luxury car, turns out the visceral experience is part of having an experience, but that's probably for a different day.
Yeah, no, you're right. And there's
Yeah.
also, look at the RAV4.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about your Mustang. You and your Mustang collection and all that. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, the RAV4 just went hybrid. It's the best-selling vehicle
Right.
after the big trucks, right? Those big three trucks.
And that's the only way it comes, right?
The only way it comes starting in 26. You
So-
can buy a non-hybrid version of the RAV4, and it's the
There you go.
best-selling non-truck in the country. So if you want to say, is 2026 and the future beyond going to be a massive move toward hybrids? It kind of like you're saying,
Totally.
it has to be. How is it not going to
Yeah.
be when some of
Yeah.
the best-selling vehicles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So I
agree.
think-
And I think it's that ending up with one when it wasn't what you intended. Here's the perfect analogy that I remember at one point. There was a European Honda Accord and there was a US North American Honda Accord. They were two different at one point. I don't know if this is true or not anymore, so don't quote me, but at one point this was true. That same name was two different cars, two different platforms.
Totally different.
And if you were shopping for one in a different part of the world, you wouldn't know. You would both say the same thing. Great price, good acceleration, fun to drive, great interior space. You would both be talking about the same car, even though they were dramatically different cars. That's what's going to happen with hybrids.
Yeah.
It's a good value too. I mean, right
Yeah.
now the consumers are running the show, and I think that's what car manufacturers were missing. And there still are some CEOs that think they know better. And we discussed this off air. We'll have to do this on air, and then
Yeah.
some of these CEOs.
Yeah.
What I think is right, rather than no. You're the
Mm-mm.
consumer spending the
Mm-mm.
money, and you get to call the shots, because I think this is something that consumers
Yeah.
don't realize how powerful the power of the purse is, or the power of the wallet. And it
When you
really-
lead with ideology, you almost always lose in consumer products. Listen, all or nothing is great. All or nothing is great, but that belongs in church, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about cars and sneakers and soda and soup, like those things. It has to be great. And if it's not great, Coda Electric, it's going to go away. No one wanted it because the value's not there. It's just not good enough.
You're right.
Yeah.
One of the-
Well,
one of the
speaking of
problems in the news
speaking of going away, we got to take a break, but we're going to come right back on The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl, and this segment is brought to you by Karl Brauer Cars. That's my YouTube channel. I'm putting up multiple videos every week. Recent videos include the Toyota Highlander that's gone electric that we just talked about. Also the brand new Audi A6, the 2026 Audi A6 that I drove in Palm Springs. Very impressive car. And speaking of cars that I've driven recently, Lauren and I were both on this Toyota event, the same one where they showed us the brand new all-electric all-electric Highlander. They also showed us and let us drive the Toyota BZ Woodland and the return of the Toyota CHR. Now, some of you hearing my voice probably already know that the BZ indicates electric, and this is basically a slightly longer, slightly higher roof version of their existing Toyota electric BZ model, but it's got increased ground clearance if you get the no-cost off-road tires, and it's got increased cargo space. I think it went up from 55 max cargo to 74.5, so it got quite a bump in cargo. And it looks good, and it's got some pretty cool off-road technology too that lets it go off-road fairly aggressively. This is Toyota's first all-electric off-road oriented vehicle, which we're seeing more of those. There's some Subarus and some of the other ones. Of course, Rivian's been out there for years, but Toyota hasn't done an all-electric off-road oriented vehicle until the BZ Woodland, and I was impressed with it. And then it was the CHR, which is a kind of a more sporty all-electric vehicle, return of that name, but it's all electric this time around. Lauren, what did you think of the cars?
I thought I'm looking at it from a consumer perspective because you and I like the performance. We're off looking at it from a bigger picture. But when a customer gets in a car, whatever it may be, electric, hybrid, or gas, the first thing they see is the screens in front of them. So good sized screens, 14-inch. You know, I mean, the stuff that's usable, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. But I think one of the things that impress consumers, 2 wireless chargers.
Yes, standard.
Right, standard.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Two
see?
two phone chargers right there in
Yeah.
the center console for you. Not one, but two. Yeah.
Right, and there's
Because
only
when
so
you're
much price
navigating
point.
with that, when you're navigating with that, you're like, oh, just put your car. Oh, you can't because mine's connected to the CarPlay. Oh, that's smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
impressive features like tons of storage. Because it's an EV, you got storage underneath the center console, 18 cup holders. And you think, oh, but you know what? I'm one of those people that, I got a Monster, I got a water, sometimes I have a coffee and a water, and we always have stuff with us, and we leave stuff in our cars, our sunglasses, whatever. These are things that are not unusual, and because of that, I think that consumers are going to get in these cars and go, these are really nice. And I think the
Yeah.
CHR is going to sell well because it's not crazy priced, and I
Right.
think there'll be incentives to buy it, and they might
Mhm.
be in the sweet spot of getting that lower priced EV that you could afford, that you can drive. Maybe it's a second or third car, but like a kid going to college, perfect. Places to plug it,
Yeah.
always at colleges. Maybe you've got a level 2 at home, but that might be a really good timing on that specific car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think those are both good. And when you're looking at cars that are selling well already out there, that's the other thing we were talking about during the break. And Brian, you mentioned that you've been
Oh, I'm
impressed
shocked.
by
Yeah, I'm
brand.
shocked by one. Okay, so I've liked Buick for a long time. When they killed all their sedans, I didn't like that because even though, some of them maybe weren't competitive with Lexus or whatever, I still just didn't like the idea of it. So now Buick is all SUVs. But with vehicles like the Envision and the Enclave, their sales have actually been up, about 7 to 8%. And when you look at model by model, in some cases they're up 40, 50, 60%, depending on the region of the country. So Buick's doing something right. I drove the Invista and Envision, and I was impressed. I don't think it's the same thing as an Audi. I don't think it's the same thing as a BMW, but it's still a nice, good price, premium SUV with the features you would expect. And here's the thing that we all always say about GM vehicles. They all look great.
Yeah, they do.
They need to work out their powertrain, like how that's going to work. I don't think you need to lean so heavily into electric, but one thing that we almost always say and agree on is that most of them are really attractive cars, both inside and out.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
design is impressive. I think
Yeah, very
GM has
good.
really
I agree.
stepped up their game. I wish the Cadillac lineup, which I think looks fantastic, had a
Agree.
bigger
Agree.
range extender. I think they wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to make them fast enough.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I know.
The
Yeah.
Optic, the Lyric, if these things were available with a hybrid or even a range extended pure electric drivetrain, but it had a gas engine to keep the motor going, they'd do quite well.
I'm surprised, Carl. Do you remember a long time ago when we both worked together at the same place in California and Chevrolet brought us a hydrogen fuel cell Equinox many
Yeah.
I
years
saw
ago?
that. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm surprised by is that GM has shown throughout the years, maybe even decades, that they are innovators in terms of when it comes to powertrain. It kind of boggles my mind that they can't get past the like EV only thing. The thing that bothers me again, like I said before, is anytime there's a conversation that's all or nothing, I'm immediately distrustful.
Yeah, I agree.
True. Well, we're gonna
All
have
right,
to
well,
wrap up the show. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up, but this was a great episode talking about EVs. And we will be back again next week with The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
You've been listening to The Drive, your trusted source for the latest car news, expert reviews, and real insights into the automotive world. Thanks for riding along with us today. You can check out the entire archive of every episode on our YouTube channel, The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and join the conversation by leaving your comments. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the ride, and we'll see you right back here on The Drive.